The concepts covered are: why do we respire? Breathing. How do we breathe? What do we breathe out? Breathing in. Other animals breathing underwater. Do plants also respire? Why do we respire? The process of breakdown of food in the cells of an organism with the release of energy is called cellular respiration. Each cell of an organism performs functions like nutrition, transport, excretion and reproduction. For this purpose, it needs energy. Our food has stored energy which is released during respiration. How food helps us in gaining energy. As we breathe, we take in the air that contains oxygen in it and breathe out air which contains carbon dioxide. This oxygen, when transported to our cells, helps in breaking down the food and we get energy. What is cellular respiration? Cellular respiration is a process in which the food that we eat is broken down inside the cells, which results in the release of energy. All the cells in living organisms undergo cellular respiration. The cellular respiration takes place in a cell organelle called mitochondria. The oxygen that an organism breathes in reacts with the carbohydrates, glucose, present in the food and results in the release of carbon dioxide, water and energy. Types of respiration. When the breakdown of glucose occurs with the use of oxygen, it is called aerobic respiration. During aerobic respiration, glucose is completely broken down into carbon dioxide and water and energy is released. Aerobic respiration takes place in mitochondria. Aerobic respiration is seen in most of the organisms such as humans, man, dogs, cats, lions, elephants, cows, buffaloes, goats, snakes, earthworms, frogs, fishes, etc. Anaerobic respiration. When a breakdown of glucose takes place without using oxygen, it is called anaerobic respiration. The glucose is not completely broken down into carbon dioxide and water. An intermediate compound is formed with the release of less amount of energy during this process. Anaerobes. Organisms that can exist in the absence of air are called anaerobes. They undergo anaerobic respiration, hence can get energy even without oxygen. For example, yeasts. These are unicellular organisms that exist in the absence of oxygen as well. Anaerobes, as a byproduct, release ethanol and carbon dioxide. That is why they are used to make wine and beer. This is called as alcohol fermentation. Anaerobic respiration in human beings. Usually, aerobic respiration takes place in humans, but under certain conditions, anaerobic respiration may also occur in our muscles for a short time, due to temporary deficiency of oxygen. When we perform a heavy exercise like running, cycling, walking, weightlifting, etc., we require a large amount of energy. To meet the energy requirement, our muscle cells perform anaerobically. Respiration. During this process, the glucose or food in the muscle cells is partially broken down in the absence of oxygen to form lactic acid and some extra energy is released. Breathing is a process in which organisms, with the help of their respiratory organs, take in the oxygen-rich air present in the surroundings and release out air that contains high amount of carbon dioxide in it. Breathing occurs continuously in the organisms. A. Inhalation is the process of taking the air that contains oxygen inside the body. B. Exhalation is a process of releasing out air that contains carbon dioxide out of the body. Inhalation and exhalation take place alternatively in the breathing process. Breathing rate means the number of times a person breathes in a minute. A breath can be defined as an inhalation followed by an exhalation. The breathing rate is not always constant in human beings. We generally breathe faster when our body needs more energy, for example while exercising. This is so because the body needs more oxygen that can break down the food and produce more energy. On an average, adult human being breathes 15 to 18 times in a minute. While exercising, this rate can change up to 25 times a minute. Why do we feel hungry after doing a physical activity like walking or running? When we involve in a physical activity, the food that is present in our body is converted into energy. Since all the food gets consumed in generating the energy, we start feeling hungry. Hence, in order to gain more energy, we need to eat more food. The mechanism of breathing in human beings. Normally, we take in air through our nostrils. When we inhale air, it passes through our nostrils into the nasal cavity. From the nasal cavity, the air reaches our lungs through the windpipe. Lungs are present in the chest cavity. This cavity is surrounded by ribs on the sides. A large, muscular sheet called diaphragm forms the floor of the chest cavity. During the breathing process, the movement of the ribs and diaphragm takes place. This is so because the lungs expand and contract during breathing. As we take in the air, it fills up the lungs. This moves the diaphragm downwards and the ribs outwards. The lungs when releasing out air from the body, which brings back the diaphragm and the ribs to their original positions. Why do we sneeze? The air we inhale contains various types of unwanted particles like smoke, dust, pollen, etc. Their particles are allergens. During inhalation, these particles get trapped in the hair present in our nasal cavity. They cause irritation in the lining of the nasal cavity, as a result of which we sneeze. Sneezing expels the foreign particles from the inhaled air so that dust-free, clean air may enter into the lungs. What do we breathe out? The difference between inhaled air and exhaled air is that the inhaled air contains more oxygen while exhaled air contains more carbon dioxide. The exhaled air contains more water vapor than the inhaled air. Breathing in other organisms. Different animals possess different organs for the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Animals such as elephants, lions, cows, goats, frogs, lizards, snakes, birds have lungs in their chest cavities like humans for respiration. The smaller animals like cockroaches, earthworms, fishes, ants and mosquitoes do not have lungs. Therefore, respiration in these animals takes place by other means. Breathing in cockroach. Insects like the cockroach, grasshopper, etc. have tiny holes on the sides of their body. Their openings are called spiracles. The spiracles on the body of insects are connected to a network of thin air tubes called tracheae, which spreads into the whole body of the insect, where the exchange of gases takes place. Air rich in oxygen rushes through spiracles into the tracheal tubes, diffuses into the body tissue and reaches every cell of body. Similarly, CO2 from the cells enters into tracheal tubes and moves out through spiracles. The blood in cockroach do not contain hemoglobin and is not red in color. They cannot carry oxygen to all the parts of the body. Therefore, transport of air takes place through the spiracles in these organisms. The tracheal system or spiracles are only seen in insects, not in any other group of animals. Breathing in earthworms. Earthworms have a soft, slimming and moist skin. Hence the gases can easily pass in and out of the earthworm through its skin. Earthworms absorb the atmospheric oxygen through their moist and slimy skin because gases can easily pass through the moist and slimy skin. They absorb the atmospheric oxygen through their moist skin and transport it through the blood to all the cells. Breathing underwater. There are many organisms which live in water. They do also breathe underwater. Some of them given below. Fish. Fishes live in water and they have a special organ for breathing called gills. The oxygen dissolved in water enters through the gills. Gills are actually the projections of skin and have blood vessels for the exchange of respiratory gases. Fishes breathe by taking in water through its mouth and sending it over the gills. The oxygen dissolved in the water is extracted by the gills and the extracted oxygen is absorbed by the blood. Respiration through gills in fishes. Respiration in plants. We know that plants also respire. They take in the carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere and use it in the process of photosynthesis to produce food. As a result of photosynthesis in plants, they release out oxygen in the environment. All the parts of the plants can independently respire, that is, they can take in the carbon dioxide and release oxygen on their own. The leaves of the plants have stomata present upon them, which are small pore-like structures. They allow gases exchange in leaves. The woody stems of the plants also respire. This is because of the presence of special tissue called lenticels. The cells of this tissue have large intercellular spaces. They exist as dead cells on woody plants and roots and allow the exchange of gases. The bark of trees, although, is impermeable to gases, hence these tissues serve an important purpose of respiration in the stems. As the name suggests, lenticels have a lens-like shape. Lenticels in plants. The roots of the plants have hair-like structures on them. Through these they absorb the Why plants can die if overwatered. The plant roots get oxygen from the soil. The air in the soil is present between the soil particles. Along with the air, soil also contains some water or moisture. If we overwater the plants, the spaces between the soil particles get clogged. As a result, the roots will not be able to get enough air and the plant can die.